Welcome to It's in the Details. My name is Damian Waith, and as always, please remember to share, like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, do all the things wherever you get the show. Today, we're digging into a little more F1, not so much the race, but first, Search Party. Search Party, the people, if you've been here a while, you know I love Search Party. Show starring Alia Shawkat, John Early, a bunch of other people. Season 5, the final season, aired, I think 7, 8, 9 months ago now, and I have not talked about it yet. I watched it the day it came out, I believe. If not the day it came out, the day after it came out. And I watched all 10 episodes that day. I couldn't hold back. I'm not a binger, really, but it had a soupçon of, it watched like a big ass movie. It watched like a large, long movie that you just needed to sit and get through, because it wasn't really cliffhangers they were hitting you with episode after episode, but the world that they've created for season 5, much like it did in season 1, 2, 3, and 4, brand new worlds, same characters are going through different things, but they create a brand new world. It's essentially a new show with threads of fabric tying you back into the seasons past. But it's in a new place. They bring in a couple new characters sprinkled in, and they bring in a genre, a subject matter, an arc that is unlike all of the things you've seen before it. So, watching it for the first time, fresh and new, because I watched all of the past seasons long after they had already come out, I was like, I need to get through this. And I got through it. And I didn't talk about it because I wanted to let it digest. I wanted to let it sit, and I wanted to figure out how to do it without giving the people who haven't seen it yet any spoilers. There's not going to be a lot of spoilers today, but there's going to be some. And we'll start here. There's a cult. There's a cult. There's a cult in the show. There's a cult. And you couldn't have imagined there was going to be a cult in this series. Although I will say that watching the show, I feel like I'm part of a cult because I like the show so much and love the characters and love the actors and actresses so much. So the fact that they gave us a cult in this final season felt prescient. It felt perfect for the time. It felt perfect for the show. And I'm here just trying to get some of y'all to join the cult, you know? And that's a sentence I never thought I'd say either. But I haven't introduced anyone to this show who told me afterwards, I didn't really like that show so much. You know, maybe you watched my show, heard about the show, looked at it, and said, I don't really like that show so much, but you didn't tell me. So what I said stands. You hear me? So people like the show. I watched a little festival conference type of deal with the main stars and some creators. And even the creators said they don't know how many people are watching this show. And I think that's just a product of how people watch things now. But they're not even sure about how many people like this show. And I've got to believe it's tons and tons of people. And if not, you'll find it. You'll get to it. It's one of those shows where it feels culty. It feels like there's going to be a cult following the show already. Much like me, you're going to watch it over and over again, and other people are going to get introduced to it. I've been rambling long enough before getting to the meat and potatoes of season 5. So there's a cult. We meet back up with Dory Seif, the main protagonist, at the beginning of the series, and she has died. Coming off of some other stuff in earlier seasons. She's died, and she has become aware of her own enlightenment. And that immediately puts off her friends who come to find her in a hospital. Now, that's a bit of a spoiler. Too bad. What I got to say about this is, she has died, she's come out of death, she survived, and now she feels that she just wants to spread positivity and love, and that's all everybody ever needs, and you got to throw away your materialistic wants and wishes, because none of it matters. Once you die, none of it matters. And her friends are put off by this, as I said, and I think justifiably so. I think you have a friend who's been through some of the things that Dory has been through, and you were there to see it happen. You already think she's a crazy person. You do. And now she's had another horrific, traumatic situation go on, and now she's talking about spreading peace and love. I think people would think she's crazy. I think that's what people would think. But to me, and I'm not crazy, I think maybe I shouldn't have said that, but to me, I think someone coming out of that scenario would think and say exactly what she said, and she would be treated as such. And I don't think that's fair. You know what I mean? I don't think that's fair. I think we should be able to embrace someone when they show up trying to spread peace, love, and prosperity for all. I think we should embrace them, but I don't think any of us would do that. I just don't. I think the writers handled it perfectly, regardless of Dory's past indiscretions. I think this is how we would treat all of our friends and family. Oh, you spreading peace and love now? After all the stuff I've seen you do? Okay, yeah, all right. Let's sign him up to get locked up in a hospital and get some treatment. That's how I think people would treat you. But that's what they do with her, and the story progresses from there. Now, as I've mentioned, this show becomes a new and different thing every single time the season starts up. And this series, or this season, they're foreshadowing apocalypse. Apocalypse, apocalypse, apocalypse. I don't think you can get through the first 3 or 4 episodes without hearing someone mentioning an apocalypse. And let's put it this way. The series ends in a way it's fitting for the show, because the show has proven over time it can go anywhere it wants. So it's not unbelievable. But when you look back at where you started in season 1 and where they ended in season 5, there's no way you could have predicted it. And I think for some, that might be unsettling, that a show veers away so far from where it started, even though the final never mind. I won't spoil that for you. But the show starts in one place and veers away so far away from it by the end. I think it's actually more enjoyable. I really do find it more enjoyable that way. But what else is there? There's so many other things that are juicy about this final season. This is a show, throughout the series, they've had stellar co-stars, stellar guest stars, stellar cameos, and that's the same throughout season 5. We get a good 5-episode torrid arc of Jeff Goldblum in all of his Jeff Goldbluminess, wearing wardrobe I can only assume he picked right out of his closet to come on set with, because if you don't follow Jeff Goldblum, Jurassic Park, The Fly, many other great things he was in, if you don't follow Jeff Goldblum on Instagram, go check it out. His fashion is not my fashion, but I embrace that it's his fashion and he sells it. He sells it. Actually, I believe I just saw him in a Prada fashion show just a few months ago or so. So Jeff Goldblum's in it and amazing. Over 5 episodes or so. Kathy Griffin's in it. Amazing. And she teams up, she's paired up to act with the one person in the show that it's perfect for her to be acting with. Like, there's a character who's been in the show since season 1. And if you said, we're adding Kathy Griffin to the show, who should she be with? They nailed it. They nailed it. These people, they never put a foot out of line with the show. It's like they're living and breathing the subject matter and the script and the arc of these characters so much and so well that it's just it's a delicious little treat. The guest stars, cameos, just a laundry list of people who you've seen in comedic pictures and TV over time. And in one episode, they just cram them all in at once. It's just all in at once. 5 or 6 of them at once. John Waters is in it. He's got an arc. Stop searching. Search Party's where it's at. F1 went to Monaco this week, past week. The race was, there was rain. The race was delayed at the start. It was wet to start out. Created some very interesting tire and pit stop choices and decisions. And then the second half of the race became what I hear Monaco always is, a procession. Just one dude slowed down, 3 seconds off the pace, which is a lot. The lap is only like 1 minute and 10 seconds. So if you slow down 3 seconds off the pace for 10 laps, you're a half a lap behind, and so is everyone else behind you because it's almost impossible to pass. Qualifying is where Monaco is interesting, really, unless maybe it rains the whole entire race. But I love F1. I'm new and I love F1. I could actually see myself missing this race. That's how painful it was to watch the second half of it. I said I wasn't going to talk a lot about the race. What I want to talk to you about is pre-show into the race. And there was a nice, what I felt was a heartwarming moment. One of the Mercedes simulator drivers, he's a Sky Sports broadcaster, Anthony Davidson. He went to the little screen where they analyze and break down certain laps and parts of the race. He was over by that screen talking to Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher, who is in his second season of racing in F1 for Haas. Haas had a garbage bin of a car last year, and they spent some of that good Russian money on their car this season, and the car's pretty good. It might be a little bit unreliable, but Mick's been doing okay. He's had a couple accidents, and he had another accident during the race. But when Anthony had him at the screen, they went through one of his laps at Monaco. And then Anthony asked him if he would be okay if they looked at his dad's lap, one of his dad's laps at Monaco. And that's Michael Schumacher, for any of you who don't know. 7-time world champion, all-world drive, just everybody. Michael Schumacher is amazing. Everybody loves him. So they asked him if he could go through this lap with them, and he did. He said it'd be great, and he was breaking down the car and how that older car reacts so differently to this car, and it was fun to watch. It was really nice to watch. And Anthony pointed out that though the cars are very different, Anthony pointed out that his dad's lap was 1 minute, 14.3 seconds. And Mick's lap was 1 minute, 14.8 seconds. So what I heard from that was Anthony was just telling Mick, I know you've had some struggles. He didn't know he was going to crash during this race, but he was just saying, I know this is what I feel he was saying. I know you had some struggles last year and this year. Haas is grumbling that they might be able to move on from Mick and get out of that contract. You never know. But Anthony was just trying to say, look, Mick, all the struggles you're having, you're just 5/10 off your dad. Just 5/10. And I thought that was really heartwarming because if you don't know, Michael Schumacher has had an accident. I believe it was skydiving or skiing. It was some big time accident, and he's not quite who he once was. And Mick, and I've always thought this over the last 2 years, Mick has realized what we would believe to be one of his professional dreams of racing in F1, and he can't get any tips from one of the best F1 drivers in the world, in history. And he lives in the same house as this man, or he lived in the same house as this man, and he can't get any of that same feedback on the track, in the paddock, just in practice, just any of the things he'd be able to lean on his dad and get. He probably can't get it in the same way. And Anthony reached out and just said, it's just 5/10, man. All the struggles, it's just 5/10. Just keep pushing, just keep grinding away at it. You'll figure it out. That's how I heard it. I hope that's how Mick heard it, because I strongly believe the F1 community is pulling for him, right? And that sounds weird to say that so many people are pulling for this like 19, 20-year-old young man who is richer than he probably ever imagined by himself. Like, he probably signed a decent contract with Haas. His dad was rich, right? He's comfortable. But I imagine he's lost some part of this relationship with his father, and who knows what's going on with his deal at Haas. And Anthony just wanted to reach out to him and say, it's just 5/10. And I thought that was lovely. And with that, I want to thank everybody for joining me here on It's in the Details. As always, please remember to share, like, subscribe, rate, review, comment, wherever you get the show. Take care, y'all. Peace.